Life doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we become. This story I'm going to take you through, my unique story from darkness, pain and trauma into healing, transformation and light, I believe is important in the telling, as it may just save lives. Because there was many times as I navigated my personal journey that one miscalculation, one wrong understanding of my instincts could have meant life or death. In the first half of my journey, I was unfortunately categorized as one of Britain's most dangerous and notorious criminals and prisoners. I'd been groomed through violence and trauma into gang life very, very early on. This grooming continued from me going through a life of petty crime into serious organized crime. My people of the day, who I looked to as family members and who was in my stratosphere, unfortunately, were some of the leading known notorious serious target criminals of the day. My fall from grace in that terrible life happily come many years later, after many sophisticated operations by top-level police forces. I was arrested and sent to the Old Bailey. After numerous trials, I received a sentence of 17 years as a Category A prisoner. The definition of a Category A prisoner to the Home Office is someone who is highly dangerous to the public, the police, or the security of the state, and whose escape must be made impossible. I served 12 years out of that as a Category A, around some of the most notorious names of the day, people like Charles Bronson. Probably, I was in prisons within prisons, serving probably 5 years plus in solitary confinement. So how did I arrive in this place of darkness? And what led me there? Science and physics confirms for us now that it's not just epigenetics that propel us through our journey and what we inherited from what has come before, but that our environment, people, places, and things really shape our trajectory forward. There is more evidence, that experiences fused with our emotional intelligence and our examples to people, places, and things are firing, wiring all the neurons in our brains, creating pathways that are going to dictate the architecture with our choices in many ways of what is going to come next in our lives. It's also a given that we know that we must change, that part of life is growth and progress, and like a blade of grass or any living thing, that when the seasons are set and the time is right or the sun is shining, that we will reach out to be the best of ourselves, to be more, to do more, to become more. Life also dictates, as everything is energy, everything is moving, everything is vibrating, that we may pause for a while on our experiential life journey to rest for just a moment. But if we become static, life continues forward. So we then would be going backwards. this dictates, of course, that we must always come forward. We must always change. We must always transform. But people only really change because of two things. One, because they want to, and two, because they must, or they are leveraged to. So, you know, it's really important. What is this landscape of hills and valleys that we must really navigate real time towards the better us? And what about the people who have a tougher deck to deal with at the start? They have challenges that they must circumvent early on that are already directing them maybe in a way that is not healthy or conducive to them finding the best of themselves. For me, my history, and it's always in the history, the seeds were already sown. Unfortunately, in many ways, I was already positioned for many failures. You know, I always say we must position and prepare ourselves for success. Then if we get it, we won't be surprised. But if we are positioned for something else and storms come through in our lives, what then? How do we navigate these sometimes unsurmountable challenges? My history dictated a tough start. Born here in the UK, I was taken to Belfast as a 6-month-old child in the early 70s. In the middle of the troubles and the war zone over there, you know, in the darkness. The environment there was filled with violence and martial law and hatred and bigotry and all of these things. This was outside the door. But inside the door, I had a kind, loving environment, really old school people. And this would be my savior later on. After my grandmother, my surrogate mother, died of cancer when I was 9 years old, I was the little child with the case, coming over on the ferry, back to England, back to London, and back into the East End. It went downhill because of the abandonment, because of the violence, because of all of the trauma that I had carried with me from before. I ended up a feral child who had to go through homes. Some of these children's homes was really, really violent. Herein was the start of my integration of having to find a family, of having to find my own way, of feeling alone in this world, and that everything I ever had or ever loved was always taken from me. But what is the way out of this? Today, my metamorphosis is complete. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a CEO. I've built a few companies in diverse industries. I'm a TV personality. I'm an executive producer who deals with very high-level media, both sides of the camera. But the thing that makes my heart sing the most is in 2019, I was nominated for an International Peace Prize. Now, the question always is, I've been on some of the biggest platforms in the world, and the question is always the same. Stephen, what was the epiphany? What was the change? What's the middle bit? How did it happen? You know, of course, change is layers. It doesn't happen overnight. But I have identified 3 key elements that are fundamental, no matter how far you have gone back or how dark or deep your drop, where you can exponentially transform your life. There are 6 keys that I have identified to transformation. One is that we have the circumstances, we have the opportunity, we have the courage, we have the timing, we have the intervention, and we have the clarity. But all of these things must come together at the same time. This is why in our own lives, if you look at your own journeys with challenges or stuff you find difficult, maybe you have the circumstances, maybe you have the courage, but it's not working for you. You say, why is this not working for me? Because what I've found in my life is all these elements must come together. When they come together and that window of opportunity appears, then we can put our heads down into the wind and into the rain and take baby steps, which will and can become great strides. But there is another part to this necessary transformational human journey that we all have to experience here. And the other part of it, which reinforces this and is so important, is to understand the 4 strengths. Now, the 4 strengths are not just that we are strong in the arm and physical. In my opinion, this is one of the lesser strengths. It's that we focus and strengthen the other strengths also, which are mental, emotional, and physical. When we go to all of these strengths, now we're really onto something. Anything is really possible. Change is incumbent, I believe, in all of us. You know, that we be the best and we become the best. Because in that moment of self-actualization, we are not apart from the world, as all of us can feel at certain times, but we are actually a part of, which is very, very important. Another thing, you know, which I would say also is, it's very important how we see the world. If we see the world how I was trained to see the world in the formative years, which will prove to be very, very integral in how we shape our personalities going forward. If our environment and what we are taught is the world is a place of suspicion, a world of, you know, hardship, that everything is against us, and we must take what we can, when we can, and as much as we can. This is what we are inviting into our lives, of course, and this is the wrong message. The right message and the truth of it is, as I know standing here today, having done the complete 360 of this change, is that the world is limitless possibility. We have to see that the world is working for us, not working against us. Now, at many times, people have said to me along my journey, they've said, was you mad or was you bad, Stephen? My answer is yes. I may have been all of them things at certain times in my life. But really the truth is, what is unique about me and my transformation is that I just had the circumstances. I had the timing. I had the courage. At times I had the needed intervention. I had the opportunity and I had the clarity to find my way back to myself. I'd like to thank you all very much for letting me shine my light into the world so that it can make people, places, and things better.